The following podcast has been brought to you by Audible.com. Sign up now using the URL audibletrial.com/TTV to get a free audiobook of your choosing. We recommend Brick by Brick, How LEGO Rewrote the Rules of Innovation and Conquered the Global Toy Industry. You may recognize this as one of the sources we use in our show, Bionicle Autopsy. Remember, that's audibletrial.com/TTV. Enjoy the show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sync! Hey everybody, I'm Kahi.
I'm Mesa.
I'm LJ.
And welcome to TTV Talks.
Hey, well done. Flawless. A++ intro. Flawless.
Yeah, I woke up like that.
Wow.
If only they could all be that good.
Mine are always really good.
No, LJ, your intros are garbage. And
And my voice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your
and your
voice.
voice.
When will you go through puberty?
Nah.
Anytime soon? Thinking about doing that?
Oh boy. Well,
Now.
How's it going, guys? How have you
It's
been?
going
Going.
pretty good. I was, don't ask me how my weekend was, but, how was your guys' weekend?
Guy, how things go for you?
We're going to talk about it in the podcast, but let's say that Toy Fair was not the fun and exclusive adventure we were hoping it would be. Or the fun exclusive expense we were hoping it to be.
Yeah.
There was literally two things that kept me sane throughout that weekend.
Huh.
And one was a very nice invitation by a community member, BZ Power member, Tolik and Hordika, and his wife, Taraki, to visit their place. And we had a great dinner with a lot of Bionicle talks, and he has one of the greatest collections ever. That was great.
Ever.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
And then the other thing is the RWBY finished up, and that was a great episode. So
Yeah, I remember you
it was
and Var saw the finale
Yeah,
in your hotel room.
we saw it in our
we
hotel
saw
room.
your guys' reactions.
Yeah, you made it so we put it on. And it was kind of cool, like, watching it, like, for the first time, you know, physically in the same room, I guess. That was an interesting
Yeah.
experience.
I can imagine that would be quite fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
man.
it was a fun episode.
That was a really good episode. I'm really excited about where the show's going because of that.
Yeah.
Like,
So, real fast, for anyone who hasn't seen the Volume 3 finale of RWBY, yeah, go away, because we're going to talk spoilers.
Yeah, we're
Probably
gonna
not
talk
the
spoilers about
entire
everything.
show, so like,
And,
if
I
you
mean, hey-
care, go watch it. It's not like it's a long show. The episodes are short and it's free.
if you've
do it.
never seen RWBY before, you should totally see RWBY.
Yeah,
Can we put clips in like these episodes, Meso? Is that possible? Could
I
we do a
wouldn't
little clip of
recommend
a fight
it.
scene?
I don't
I mean-
know. I know RWBY has a very, very active fan base on YouTube with AMVs and also reaction reviews. Rooster
Right.
Teeth even supports
Well-
them. There was this one dude that did a reaction video to RWBY Volume 9. Rooster Teeth loved it so much, they did a reaction video to that
To
guy's
their-
reaction
yeah.
video and sent it to him, and then he put it up on his channel per their request. It was reactception, so I don't think there's a problem
Okay,
with
yeah.
footage
No,
being
I do.
used.
I did see just like a little bit ago, some guy like tweeted at Bernie. He's like, "Hey, I just did a thing on either RWBY or RVB or something." He said, "Hey, it got taken down because of content requests. Could you help me out with this?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. DM me and we'll get it figured out." So
I'm not sure.
Rooster Teeth generally
Maybe.
is pretty good about it.
They're really
always
good about it.
They always admit that like if Halo had said no when they started doing RVB, they would not be here today. So they've always been like, you know, if you remix something, obviously if you just cut, like, you know, copy and paste it, they're not going to stand for that. But if you remix something, if you cut, like, you know, their videos into a different format, if you do a remix thing of what they do, they're more than fine with it. That being said, if you have not watched RWBY,
Spoilers.
let me try to explain. Let me pitch RWBY to you, okay?
RWBY is
RWBY
an American anime that is awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
RWBY.
No, I can't do this without Var here, because Var, he just stands his ground and doesn't put up for any of this nonsense. So,
RWBY's an anime.
RWBY's not an anime.
RWBY
It's
is an anime.
Not. It
RWBY
isn't.
is an
It's-
anime.
Okay, you know
RWBY
what?
is a cartoon
Tommy,
show.
think about this. If I dress up as a dog, I'm not a dog. RWBY
No.
dresses up as an anime, it's still not.
Well, no. If you dress up as a dog, you're not a dog. But if you dress up as a clown, you are a clown. Because clowns are a visual thing. They're
Yeah,
a style.
But Kahi, it's
If you
trying
dress
to
like
say
a
it's
gentleman-
a dog. It's not a dog.
It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
I know,
was
it's
like,
because
out of
dogs are
curiosity,
genetically
I went
something.
to the Wikipedia page for anime, and the image which is there on the side is that, and I'm gonna put it up in the video right here. I swear to you, at first I was like, "Is that an eye from RWBY?"
No, it's been there for ages.
What is that?
Gosh dang, it's not. You know what? Listen,
It's a
I want to talk.
anime
I wanna,
is a
today,
style?
We can have this entire discussion, this entire argument. It's much more entertaining
Yeah.
than VARS here. On another episode
Yeah.
of TTV
Yeah,
Talks,
we should.
I want to
About
talk
anime.
about
Yes.
actual.
Oh, we're talking about
RWBY.
okay. It's an animated cartoon, which in Japan
go.
the word is anime. That
Oh my
that stars a group of kids who go to this school called Beacon in order to learn how to become warriors called hunters and huntresses.
Huntsman, not hunters.
Oh, huntsmen.
Zero
You're
out
right.
of
No,
10,
you're right.
fam.
You're right.
Yep.
It is a show that has crazy martial arts action. It was created by the late Monty Oum. May he forever rest in peace. And it was produced by Rooster Teeth Productions in Austin, Texas. It currently has 3 volumes out.
Which comprise
which
a
are
season.
Basically, there's, for in all intents and purposes, there's 3 seasons out, but they're called volumes. And they also have a Japanese dub that is being produced by Warner Brothers Japan.
And also a manga.
Also
And-
manga,
and
also a
that-
game, also a bunch of merchandise that I currently own because I am a huge RWBY fan.
I really
don't
want to get
own
one of
any
the
of it.
figures, dude. I really do,
really-
but
okay,
I find
here's
it
the thing.
difficult to justify spending that much money. I've always been like, I'm a Lego fan because I feel like Lego has a bit more meat to it than a lot of action figures.
Yeah, it's
or
because you're
discipline
more
figures.
involved in what you do
Yeah,
with
because
it.
you're more involved in making it. That's the thing for me with Lego Dimensions versus like Skylanders or like Amiibos or something because
Yeah.
they're just a little statue as opposed to like something you can actually build and play around with.
Yeah,
and
but real
for
talk,
me,
I've been sorely tempted to get one of those.
I have been so sorely tempted. If they weren't just static figures and they didn't cost so much for just being like basically a statue, I would have bought them a long time ago. I've really considered buying the action figure RWBY.
Is there an Arc figure? Is
Yes.
John Arc?
There is.
There's a Jean Arc figure.
There's
gotta go
all
look
of Team
this up real
RWBY and
fast.
all of Team
Juniper. Juniper has one. There's so
There's a
many
link
characters
to the
I
store.
love.
You can find a
I
link
would
to the
love to
store
have a
in the
Coco
description below.
figure. I don't have a
Support Rooster
Sun
Teeth.
figure. You should totally do it because it is RWBY is unique. It's a creator-owned property that's 100% creator developed. Monty created all these designs, and like all the characters and the setting and location, all that. That's all owned by Rooster Teeth, which is interesting because they got their start doing Red vs. Blue, which is a Halo machinima. So there's a lot of things they're not able to do because their game's a Halo machinima, or not their game, but like their thing's a Halo machinima that they can do with RWBY. RWBY has a game, for instance. They can't just make a Halo game, but they can make a RWBY game. And the RWBY game has like what 4-player co-op
Yep.
right
Yeah,
now.
it's
Is it
4-player
over
co-op,
online?
Yeah. And
Can you do it
know,
online?
They have, Team RWBY, but no Team Juniper, which is best team. So
Juniper is one of the best teams.
You mean
it was
Team
one of the best
Junior?
teams. Now it's Junior. It's like
People have
John
taken to calling
RWBY.
the new team Team Ranger, which I like quite a lot.
Ranger?
RNJR. Ranger.
Oh, that's good. Okay, Ranger.
Yeah.
I'm down to that
But
because they range the home. I don't really know where I was going with that.
either way.
Either way, when I first stumbled upon this series, it was at the after credit scene of RWBY season 10.
Ah, yes, I
And
remember that.
I remember this. I was immediately hooked. I had loved Monty's work since Dead Fantasy. I'd seen all his Dead Fantasy stuff. I loved them. I also was like, man, if only they were his own characters who could actually do something with that. That crossed my mind a bit. I guess it crossed his mind a bit too, because that was RWBY's initial pitch. It's Dead Fantasy, but with my own characters. When he introduced RWBY, like when he first started talking about it, basically.
When did the trailer run? Was it 2012?
Trailer?
Yeah, the trailer.
Well, you mean like the red trailer?
When did they premiere RWBY? Yeah, the trailer. When did it come out?
Yeah, it was like season 10. I think it was 2012.
It's crazy. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it was at the end of season 10. It's been a really long while. I remember following like everything. I remember when all the trailers were coming out at different conventions. White came out around Valentine's Day, the upcoming year. The white trailer came out. Then the black trailer was at a con. I think it was it PAX?
I think
Or
so.
like one of the anime conventions, and so was the yellow trailer. I remember like following those. I remember when like the whole thing came with the end of Black, where like, oh, is the voice acting going to be good?
So I
don't know.
watched all of those trailers again recently. After the Volume 3 finale, I went on a RWBY kick. Rewatched the entire series and rewatched all the trailers. red is the best, white's second best, yellow's third, and black is worst.
I would actually do an inverse of that. I would say that I think yellow's my favorite trailer.
I think yellow's
Yellow
the
has
worst.
the most favorite. And then either yellow or black are my favorites. But red is good, but red has the least amount of actual like variety.
See, but
in
this
what
is
she
the
does
thing, Kai. You see,
what happens in
off
that trailer.
recording, you and I get into a lot of heated discussions about I wouldn't say heated discussions, but we discuss what RWBY how it would improve based on what we would do to it. And it's like,
Right.
I would focus more on characters and story. You wouldn't. You would focus more on the choreography and the fight
I would
scenes.
say I would.
And I find it
but-
interesting that you say that, Kahi, because that's all the red trailer is, choreography
Right,
and
but
a
there's
fight.
not enough variety in it. Like in the black trailer and the yellow trailer, you have a bunch of choreography against several different opponents.
If you're looking for
different
variety, then
things
I would
go-
think you would find white the worst.
White is basically, I would say I think white might be my least favorite trailer if I'm really thinking about it. yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was my...
I like
It-
white.
see,
because
it's my second favorite
It's my
because of
least
blood.
favorite trailer, like compared to everybody, like everything that's really good about those trailers. Those trailers are some of the most phenomenal work I've seen from Monty so far, So when I say my least favorite, I'm saying that
Yeah, I understand.
in comparison. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the core of RWBY has always been the fight scenes. The crazy fight scenes are what makes RWBY RWBY. I feel like the characters are cool. They're cool. They have cool designs. The actual characters and the actual story could use some work. They've
getting better.
definitely gotten better with Volume 3. Volume 3 was what the pinnacle of the storytelling for RWBY for me.
Yep.
And I've always enjoyed that as a whole. But I feel like the core of RWBY is the fight scenes. If you take away the fight scenes, RWBY is not the same show. It's not the same concept. It's the core of everything it's supposed to be.
I can definitely
But
understand.
LJ, I mean, you disagree with that a bit.
Slightly. Yeah, it's
I think it
like,
should have
it's
both.
not necessarily that you're wrong. It's just I would rather there be more focus on characters and story. Because let's look at these 3 volumes. The first 2 were, it was a setup, and then it was also kind of the second act of a movie. But the third was all the payoff, and it focused heavily on characters, not so much, characters causing conflict, not conflict for fight's sake.
Volume 3 was
Right.
so good because there was a fight every episode, but it was
There was
also
fight
the
every
best
episode.
storytelling, and it was also the best character focus.
Exactly.
So
Very-
I
yeah.
think there should be a balance.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, they're not
Sure,
mutually
like
exclusive
movie.
things. Bear in mind, this conversation came off. It's not just like, what should we focus on? It was right now, what should we focus on? And the reason why that's a big deal is because Monty Oum, the show's creator and choreographer.
Yeah.
I mean, like the choreography is such a huge part of RWBY, and his style is such a huge part of RWBY.
And he's gone. He passed away.
Yeah, he's no longer with us.
There was some lingering animation of his that was used in Volume 3. So
Right. And of course it's Poser, so some of his animations can be like reused in Poser. That's how it works. Like they can apply those poses and animations to other people.
like with Velvet's
But
fight,
part of it-
which was well done.
Right. Part of it to me is like going forward, I think they should really focus on making sure that choreography has, the animators able to infuse their own style with it, which is great, but that there's also the same amount of Monty work, which is, I don't know how else to explain it. Less jittery camera, more like expressive and like creative moves in the frame itself. Less cutting away, less quick shots, less quick back and forths. Crow and Winter. I know, like me and LJ also have a thing about this. I think it's a good thing for Crow and Winter. I feel like the kind of like going back and forth and it shows them just strike after strike after strike, just like closing in each other and going all across the field. I felt that worked for that fight scene. I had definitely seen it before. By the time it came to Crow versus Cinder, I was like, I was kind of hoping for something a little more.
Okay, this is also same discussion. This is the second time you've done this, because the first time you did it was Yang versus Emerald, and we were like, you want to stick to that, Kai?
Crow versus Cinder, that epic fight where he like pulled out his sight, that he like slashed at
Oh,
her.
yeah, no, sorry. Ozpin.
Yeah.
See,
There's a lot of
here's the
characters
thing.
in RWBY, okay?
It's
There's
not
a lot of
necessarily that I
characters.
disagree that should have been a thing. I'm just not personally a fan of that quick cut.
No. And I agree with
boom,
you.
you're
That
there.
should not
Boom,
be.
you're there. Like in
I
certain
felt that
instances,
it was
makes
okay
sense.
with Crow versus Winter,
Yes,
but
I
not
agree it
so
was good
much
for that.
with. Not so much when it came to Ozpen versus Cinder. I felt like I was really expecting something amazingly cool to happen there, and the choreography was like the special effects really made it, but the choreography was missing something. And a lot of the later episodes kind of have that same amount of feeling where you feel like there should be the two people acting in tandem. Like they do at the end of season 1, where it's Blake and Sun versus.
That was a very
Torchwick.
solid fight.
Very solid
honestly
fight.
Speaking, that's the reason why the Black trailer is honestly one of my favorites, if not my favorite of the trailers. It's because Blake and Adam, they had that great choreography where like Blake would like kick somebody and then Adam would shoot him as he was coming towards him with the sheep. And
you felt like there is a reason why all of them were fighting at the same time. I don't get that same feeling at the end of 3, where it basically feels like everyone's just kind of shooting here and there, like you just have guns. They're not fighting with each other.
I thought it was
just kind of like
fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, they did a good job for what they had. And obviously this is a great period of growth for the animation team, coping without Monty, coping with the new type of animation and people that
it was not
have different
perfect,
things.
But they did a great job of recovering
really
from
did
the
do
loss
of recovering.
of Monty Oum and delivering a good volume.
I legitimately was like enthralled and entertained each episode with each fight scene, regardless of the choreography or what could have been done better within. I really enjoyed each episode going forward.
They pulled it together when it counted, and now they're going to have to even more in the future because Shane Newville is also no longer with them. He's not dead, but he left the company.
Right.
Shane is gone as well. So hey, that's
Yang versus who's it? Mercury and Neo and Torchwick versus RWBY were the standout moments to me from this, in terms of fight scenes from this season.
Agreed.
I was very, very pleased with how those turned out. I felt that the Yang and Mercury one was an animation that Monty was working on beforehand. So, it still bears the mark of his work.
Wasn't the Torchwick and Neo versus RWBY as well?
10% of it was.
Apparently, according to Gray, 10% of it was. According to the animator for that scene, let me bring up his name because
wasn't it Dustin or Joel Mann? I'm not sure.
I think so. I think it was Dustin. But let me like just double check just so I can be completely sure of this.
My favorite fights, if I had to wager from Volume 3, I definitely think Yang versus Mercury was the standout. I also think the flashback fight was very solid, as well. Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury versus Amber, and then Pyrrha versus Penny was really good.
Okay, yeah. Not only was that really good, that was
Pyrrha versus Penny,
was when the show really started captivating me.
Sorry, real quick. Sorry, Joel Mann is the person who worked on RWBY versus Neo and Torchwick, and he incorporated the majority of that into the fight, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Really good fight scene.
Yeah. So.
Episode 9, man.
A long critique of mine toward RWBY has been the lack of injury, of serious character physical injury, like blood or a broken arm or a missing arm. Volume 3 fixed all of that for me.
Right. We had this argument a lot.
Strides. Yeah. Okay, Kai, you and I talked about this a lot, and we were quite discouraged. Well, we were at ends because you didn't mind it. I was bothered greatly by it.
I was kind of in the middle.
I did not mind it because I feel like choreography is like a dance. But I mean, I got what you're saying. It's not like I felt I couldn't have benefited from it. But at the same time, if they stuck with the same thing, I wouldn't have minded because choreography
it constantly bugged me because I could not get invested in any of the fights because there were no ramifications.
For me, especially, it was in Volume 1 where I had this problem because, RWBY at the end fight, so it's like Blake and Sun versus Torchwick. And then, they're fighting, and Torchwick is, deflecting shotgun blasts with his cane, point blank. And then he gets stabbed by Blake, but, his shirt isn't even cut or, ripped. And he doesn't get stabbed, he gets slashed by Blake.
When they're on the train and Weiss is fighting that one White Fang member with
the
chainsaw.
yeah.
Take the chainsaw to the midsection.
Exactly. Here's what should have happened to Weiss. She would have been beside herself. Okay? That's what should have happened in that instance. The wall of that car, painted red.
It's like
Ruby Red.
Aura can protect you from getting chainsawed in half, but it can't protect you from getting knocked out when you get slammed into the ceiling. It's like
Yeah, it's a good point.
it's a little
like,
strange.
It's a weird thing too, because in Volume 3 they showed actively Aura getting diminished
Yeah, Aura
and
sucks.
just
It doesn't last
snuffed out.
long in Volume 3. It's like gone
It's
after
like,
just a couple hits.
Mercury, his got totally snuffed. Pyrrha, hers got toasted.
Yeah, rip Pyrrha.
There was so many consequences that like the stakes were ever high in this volume. It was like if it's like people had complained so long, like, oh, why aren't they, why don't they get hurt? Why aren't there more stakes in RWBY? And Miles and Kurt are like, all right, you want stakes? We're gonna give you freaking stakes.
I mean, I would hope
we're gonna serve you a prime rib.
I would certainly hope that this was planned out in advance, because I know
hope
they
so,
have
too.
everything planned.
They really
I would
do.
like to give them the benefit of the doubt and just think, okay, it was just a slow start, but they knew all this was coming. So it's like Lego with Bionicle. They're like
Right,
the
right,
Netflix
right.
show where they're like, okay, just wait and see. But then I also recall how they keep saying that like the reason. A funny thing with Torchwick is apparently he was never supposed to be in the series past Volume 1, Episode 1. Apparently, from what I've heard. But people liked him, and they just kind of liked the character, so they extended his role. But that's a problem for me to wrap my head around, because he was like the main villain of Volume 2. With the whole dust train, and then he was in the mech and doing stuff, and I'm like, if he wasn't gonna be in the series, then what was supposed to be Volume 2?
Adam.
Maybe Adam. Maybe.
I would say
I'm not
Adam.
sure.
Honestly, like Adam could fill that role of like the dust, taking that back and forth. Adam was introduced very early on. We did not get to see him until later this
Maybe.
volume. So that's been 3 years since Adam's been introduced that we've actually really seen him.
Yeah.
I would say that Adam's goal was to be that, and they just replaced it with Torchwick because they figured they would save the White Fang for later on. Bear in mind, too, the whole thing of the mech, they bust the White Fang for that. Doesn't it kind of make sense that the person who'd be riding that mech is the leader of the White Fang?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I had to mention it instead
That's
of just
what I
some
would
random
say.
guy, yeah. I'd believe it. It makes a lot
But,
of
I
sense
mean,
to me. Because I know a lot of people they take criticism for Volume 2 because it almost feels a little disjointed. Because the train thing is so disconnected from everything else in the show.
Yeah.
Volume 1's an intro,
Yeah.
Volume 3 is about the maidens, Volume 2 is basically nothing. It's a bunch of killing time. But I did see a Reddit post the other day, people were saying the train thing actually makes a lot of sense. Because they didn't know about Penny until, like, Episode 5. So they weren't planning on using Penny to fulfill their plans and get the mass panic initially. They were going to use the train to lure Grimm to the city, while they then manipulated the tournament to lure Grimm to the school, and then hit both at once and cause mass panic, but the train got pushed forward because of Volume 2. So it does make sense, it's just when you watch it, it's a little weird.
Well, I mean, I've always said, and I think LJ, you've kind of got
There
this
we
too.
go, everybody,
that
just
show,
kick back and relax.
Listen,
Here we go.
that show is RWBY is a really well-paced show if you watch it all at once. I remember like watching Volume 1 and being like, well, there's a lot of stuff that's just too slow. I think like it's taking too long to get through the genre.
Because we're the only people that are ever going to see it like this.
Because we are the only people that are ever going to see it like this.
You're
We're
right,
the only
but
people that are going to have to wait a
say
week.
This. You say this like every time we talk about the Bionicle animations and RWBY.
Same thing. We are the only people that are going to experience this show like this.
But we're a
Everyone
large
else is just going
chunk
to
of
watch
the
it in one go.
fans.
Yeah, oh, well, I mean, like, you are right now, but every single person after us, that's like the majority of people are going to come after us
you're not
and
wrong.
watch it that way.
I'm just giving
So,
you a hard time.
LJ, I know you've said that you've gone through and watched everything. I watched all RWBY Volume 1.
It works so much better. The only way it really works is if that's one season. If it is a single season broken up into 3 different volumes, okay, fine. Then it works. If it's 3 seasons, then it doesn't work.
It's all about
That was always the plan.
And thankfully, that is their plan. They have said that time and time before.
Okay, then it's fine. Then yes, it does a lot better with the pacing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really like the first 2 volumes. This volume is just
This volume was good.
perfecto. It's brilliant. It's
I mean,
a masterpiece.
yeah, it's really great. I saw RWBY Volume 1 in RTX at RTX 2014, and they had a group viewing with a commentary at the end. Man, that was pretty great too. Seeing it for live audience. RWBY is so much better for live audience.
Well, Kai, we'll go to RTX next year, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Seriously,
Yeah.
We did do a thing where it's like we saw also at New York Comic Con, which I believe might have been the last convention Monty was at. I think so. I'm not sure.
Yep.
At New York Comic Con, we
got
saw
to see episode 11. Part of episode 11. And
with that Neo fight, where I remember seeing it with a bunch of people. Like the entire convention was
good. They cut
so
it
good.
off right when Weiss was about to get sliced in half, right?
Hey, okay, real talk, Meso. If you had known, like we had all that Bionicle stuff to get through and doing all that stuff, if you had known that would be Monty's last convention, would you have waited in line for like how many hours for his autograph or a photo or something?
Well, of course I would have.
It's kind of a loaded question, Kai. Of course anyone would have.
If I had known that was going to be the last time.
I would have pushed stuff out of the way to make sure that would have happened. Yeah.
Yeah, because really, what did we do at that convention? We walked around and we took pictures and basically did nothing.
Man, conventions and you guys are just not a good mix.
New York Comic Con for me was really underwhelming. I know Kai and Var are way more into it because they actually follow comics. But if I had known that was Monty's last convention, yes, I would have dropped everything.
I had a great time at the convention I went to. But yeah, no, we'll just go to RTX next year.
We'll do RTX. RTX is a really good convention. Actually, I would say I liked it the most out of every convention I've been to. I've been to New York Comic Con twice. I've been to Toy Fair, and I've been to New York to RTX.
Are you telling me Toy Fair wasn't your favorite? It just had so much.
Oh boy! All right. The audience are like, why don't you just talk about Toy Fair? We will talk about Toy Fair, audience.
By the time you're watching this on YouTube, like the podcast episode should already be out. So you can
hopefully
just go check it out.
we'll talk a bit more about it. I apologize ahead of time for that.
Back to RWBY. Yeah, RWBY.
Back to RWBY.
So RWBY's
great.
Starting
I'm
in episode
reading...
9 when everything really ramped up. That was
okay.
Quite crazy.
It was
those stakes,
so
man.
good.
Those stakes were so like
I'm
one
reading...
after another. We were like, what? Everything went
we were
so
just
fast.
stunned at some of the things happening. Kahi, I linked in the chat. There's this great status chart done by N7
Yeah, no,
Brendan.
I've been following that every episode.
thing.
Have you seen the latest one?
I've seen all of them. Yeah.
I love that thing so much.
This is...
It's like, if only I had a semblance, that would let me reach Pyrrha faster.
My favorite part was Emeralds in the prior chart. It was like, thought Cinder said bake sale, not break veil. And then they updated it, thought Cinder said bake sale, not disintegrate Pyrrha.
It's like, oh, John, first kiss was also his last kiss.
I know, man. Poor John. I always get the like.
John is gonna have some killer development in future volumes.
Here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping John gets like an awesome weapon. That's what I'm hoping for. I feel like John's overdue for having an awesome weapon that is also a gun.
I like his weapon. It's
I
original.
already think he has an awesome weapon. I just think that it does something different we haven't seen yet.
That's not awesome.
I don't want his weapon to
Well,
be a
I
gun.
mean, I'm a sword and shield kind of guy. I already think it's awesome. So
I don't want John to have a gun. I feel like it makes him unique to have the
kidding
sword
me?
and the shield.
All of them need guns, man.
No.
All of them.
I do wonder what John's his semblance is going to be.
Probably gonna
That's
be a
true.
shield.
A common theory
they
was
haven't
that
really
it
got
was healing powers. Because like he was able to
Maybe
heal
he
his
can
cut.
heal Pyrrha.
He was able to heal his cut on his face when Weiss wasn't able to heal her cut on her face.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's because Jean has a lot of aura, but it also could be healing. So people were speculating like he's going to use it to bring Yang's arm back. Which would be really stupid.
I really, really hope they don't do that because I was sitting there going, I watched that and I was like, oh my goodness. And at first I didn't realize she lost the arm. It only was after they cut back to it when she's like doing the falling thing. That's when I realized.
I was like, he just slashed him. Like,
cool
all right,
artwork.
well, I guess he just kind of like gave her a really bad cut.
Yeah,
and
but
she turns
I
and
love
I'm like,
it. I love it when they do that kind of art
oh,
thing when like,
no.
especially with Adam, they've done it twice now when it fades to like red. So I was too distracted by that to notice the arm flying off.
Exactly, and it does fly off. And then we watched the finale, and I'm like, they're gonna give her a robot arm. They're gonna give her a robot arm, or they had the arm and they put it back on, and now she's just like, I lost my dignity, my title, my whatever. But no, it's gone. It is gone, and a part of me doesn't like that because I hate dismemberment, but another part of me really loves that because
like it.
affected a character.
And it
I
will
know,
also
like,
open
there's
up
stuff.
a lot of good avenues for Yang to grow as a character, because at this point she's basically just like the overpowered member of the team who can wreck everybody, but she actually hasn't won that many fights. She got destroyed by Neo, and now she's lost an arm to Adam.
I thought her semblance was gone. I thought that was the thing they're building up to, is that her semblance was no longer able to work
Why would that be?
when she's in the bed. I know. Something she was saying, she was like, it's all gone. And I was like, is that her semblance? And then I guess she was talking about Blake because Bumblebee.
But her semblance is the more damage she takes, the stronger
Right.
she becomes.
Right. But of course,
Does
that was-
Adams work in like an?
I think Adams
different
too.
but similar way?
Adams isn't necessarily that as much as he can absorb power into his sword and unleash that back out. I think it is part of his semblance, but
It was
it's tied to
basically-
his weapon.
He did it so much, like, he could just ignore Aura, just cut right through it. Because he
Right.
stabbed Blake, but he never actually hit Blake with the weapon enough to break her Aura. He just kicked and slapped her.
What
Right.
if that is his semblance? It ignores
Aura
aura.
breaker, that'd be cool.
Oh, that would be
but
a
Adam's
really
scary,
dangerous
man.
thing.
What
At-
if as a
at
side
first-
effect he doesn't have any either?
That'd be
Okay, so what's the deal with Ruby at the end? Is she one of the maidens?
No.
No.
The implication is that she is a different thing that is yet to be revealed. The silver-eyed warriors.
I kind of thought when they introduced the maiden, I'm like, well, that all fits in with the girls of Ruby, right? Yang's summer, Weiss is winter, Blake is fall, and Ruby's summer.
You just said summer twice.
Yang is summer.
Or
Ruby
Ruby's
is
spring.
summer.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the mass speculation is that Ruby was
I mean,
the summer maiden because of her mother, Summer Rose. But
What
I
if
don't
they're
know.
both summer and Ruby just needs to have an arm wrestling contest with Yang? Oh, wait a second.
What I feel like there's also the thing too where it's like, what's his name? What's her dad's name?
Tai Yang.
Tao Yang.
Tai.
Tai?
Tai Yang, not Tao
Tai
Yang.
It sounded like Tao Yang.
That
Tai
feel when
Yang,
you lose both your wives, one daughter
yeah.
loses an arm and the
And
other
your
runs
daughter
away.
was arm. Tai has had the worst luck out of every character in RWBY. Imagine all this that happened to him before. You just didn't see it. It was off screen.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a... Okay,
Both
can I
his
just-
wives are basically dead.
I'm
Or
so... Well,
presumably
no,
dead.
one of them's not.
Raven's out being an antagonist. Calling it now.
Yeah.
Possibly.
I gotta say, Crow is just the best.
Crow's cool.
Crow is
A
awesome.
lot of it's the performance. You gotta owe it to Vic.
Yeah, a lot of the
last name.
performance. I think he's
can't
one of the
pronounce.
most well voice acted people in the entire show.
Makes a
And,
lot of sense. He's
yeah,
quite
because he's-
credentialed.
Yep, he's a professional guy. Also, Jen Taylor.
Jen Taylor, the main antagonist. It's so
I
good.
wonder, they
Salem.
planned this from the beginning that she was going to be Salem. I wonder if, when Halo 5 came out, Carrie and Miles were like, son of a, Cortana's already evil? Already? You already did that to us? Okay, fine.
Yep.
Jen Taylor plays a never evil character. That's ruined by Halo 5.
So,
Yeah.
something else. I know we're kind of bouncing around a lot.
That's all I have to
But-
talk about.
Velvet Scarlatina. Her
Yes.
weapon. Okay.
Her
I
weapon
was kind of annoyed in Volume 2 when it's like, no, you've been building it up all semester, even though you hadn't been and it hadn't been mentioned once at all. Now you get to do it. I'm so glad they waited.
I'm glad they were too.
I am so glad they waited because I actually really enjoyed that scene.
It was a good
And
scene.
it really emphasizes how good timing is and how badly they messed up the timing for the reveal of Crow's scythe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bogus. I mean,
could've
we
waited.
kind of... I mean, obviously we knew Crow's thing was a scythe.
See-
because Ruby learned it
I'm
from him.
kind of an idiot because that did not occur to me. I had totally
Oh,
forgotten.
you didn't think about that?
So when that happened, I was like, "Oh snap! That's so cool." Why wasn't that more important a scene?
I don't know.
I
That
wish.
being said, when did Crow get a chance to use his scythe? Is there a scene for him to better use that scythe later on?
They would have
That's
had
the
to
thing.
rewrite the scene that it was
I
in,
don't think there was a better time or a time that they should have this volume. I think they should have pulled a Velvet
Saved it.
Scarlatina and waited another volume.
I would agree with you if it wasn't so, everybody knew that it was a scythe. So the moment Crow's introduced, that we don't know what Velvet's thing is. We have no idea of knowing, but we do know what Crow's weapon is.
Mercury
So
even
saving
calls
that
it a
reveal
scythe.
is-
He's like, he was there, I was used a scythe, and it smelled like my dad, whatever, on a bad day, whatever Mercury said.
Right. Whatever
But,
Mercury says.
It made no sense because he was using a sword, so I don't know why Mercury called it a scythe, but
Yeah.
it was a scythe.
And I loved what they did, though, because Crow, he's fighting, what was it, Winter? Is that her name?
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, now things are getting serial. And he, like, the sword, it starts doing the thing, and it's like, oh, and then, nope.
By the way, can we say, like, winter is coming, winter is leaving, winter is back.
Right.
Yeah. No, Winter had about as much effect on the story as the shopkeeper did.
Yeah.
Well, she had about as Velvet did in the first.
They hinted
in the
towards
second volume.
Weiss's summoning with her, and that was about all they did with her.
I feel like that's going to pay off at some point. Going forward.
Summoning the night is so cool.
Okay, I think it's about time we wrap this up. We're kind of going on a little long. Obviously, we're all huge fans of the shows.
About,
Real quick,
the fact that
Real
Sage
quick.
hasn't had a speaking line yet.
Or, I mean, hey, Best Growl 2016.
Or Fox, for that matter. Also no speaking line yet.
let's wrap this up with like, what are you most excited for? Volume 4, or maybe Season 2, Volume 1? Question mark. We don't really know. But
I'm most
what are you guys
excited,
excited
for
for?
one thing, and I've said it off recording many times. The initial concept of RWBY I had hoped for was that it was going to be a group of people roaming the world, fighting monsters, doing tasks, solving mysteries, fighting evil. Instead, what I was treated to was about a season of bootleg school anime followed anime.
Anime.
Wow, I'm awful. Anime. Bootleg school anime followed by a volume of nothing, like trying to be almost Harry Potter-ish with like, oh, the kids with help from the headmaster, they sneak off to fight crime or whatever. And then this season, they're ditching the school, they're going off on a journey, and that's what I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a lot more work to make, I figure, because they'll have to make like unique backgrounds and backdrops and settings for the characters to interact in. They don't have a central hub anymore, but I think it would be beneficial for the show overall. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm excited to see more people die. I just...
We've had enough death. It's time to go back to happiness.
More death, more maiming. Let it happen. And I think, really, the status chart speaks volumes. It speaks for me in a lot of cases. I mean, it's like Mercury Black needs to have a cripple fight with Yang.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Rematch. It's just a prank, bro.
Yeah, it's just a prank, bro. Look, I have a camera.
Kai, what about you?
That's pretty great. I am looking, same as you, Meso. I thought that's what RWBY was going to be from the get-go. Especially because, like, Yang did that thing where she was like, oh, have you seen this person? And it was a thing, it was implied that they were going around doing different missions, and they kind of lost that. I'm really glad they're going back to that. I feel like getting rid of the school was one of the best options they could have going forward. It's going to be more about the characters, more interacting with the world, maybe doing, like, other hijinks, going to see Remnant and getting that world building done. I'm really excited to see what they do with choreography. I really hope they're able to kind of find their own thing while also like channeling the parts that made Monty's choreography great. I have high hopes for Derek Wu, who did the God's Not Dead, or not God's Not Dead. That's a Christian movie. Gods Don't Bleed.
Kai, I have a couple problems with what you just said. Derek Wu, who did God's Not Dead.
I said Gods Don't Bleed. Dylan.
His name
Dylan
is
Wu.
Dylan Goo. Who
Derek
did
Wu is
Gods
something.
Don't Bleed.
Okay. I did correct myself.
Derek Wu from God's Not Dead.
Listen. All right. Yeah. No, okay. I get that.
Oh my god.
I am. Who's Derek? I saw Derek Wu for something. Anyhow, Dylan Goo. My apologies.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, God.
Listen, there's a lot of names. I'm telling you, RWBY has a lot of names.
And I'm
It's hard
telling
to
you,
keep track
you
of.
need to work on.
Do a serious name.
I can't.
There's
do
a lot
it.
of stuff. Choreography, hoping to make that their own, and outside of that, hope that the show gets more popular going forward.
Yes.
Animation's weird because like it takes a while for you to build up. When you start building an animation show from scratch, the first season is really rough because you're building that show as well as building the assets for the show as well as doing a lot of stuff. Going forward, you're able to give more room to doing animation stuff. So that's why I feel Volume 3 breathes more than 2 or 1 did, and I think 4 will as well. But,
Most
I mean, you remember Volume 1 where everybody was a shadow? Except for, like, the 4 main characters? Plus
Those were the
Juniper?
days.
That's kind of where we're going to be at. Like, we've passed that, and I think that kind of improvement's going to really show in Volume 4. So,
In terms of
There you
what
go.
Dylan Good did as a closing statement, he did Coffee versus Mercury and Emerald, and he
That was
also
good.
did the Velvet fight, and he also did Pura versus Cinder. He confirmed that on Twitter. And one other thing, I think. Ironwood versus the Atlas Soldiers, which was
most
brief,
of that stuff was
but cool.
was pretty good. Obviously, my tentpole choreography.
Ruby
was,
versus Neo versus Torchwick,
Yeah.
which was great.
So,
By the way, Rip Torchwick, you were a good villain.
oh yeah, Rip Torchwick.
A lot of it comes from the voice acting. I felt like Gray did exemplary.
Gray did a
voicing
really
Torchwick.
good
He had
job.
great personality.
Isn't Gray? Who's Gray in RVB? Is he
Locus. Yeah, he got a good range.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can outro, Kai. I forgot you were outro.
Yeah, I'm
for a
gonna.
moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I
Everybody
wasn't
go
sure you were
watch
gonna do it.
RWBY. If you listened to this and got spoiled, yeah,
We
just go
apologize.
watch
It's
it.
on YouTube
Tough
by now.
cookies.
You should go and watch it. It's all everything's available for free online. Just watch it. It's great.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us. Watch us on vessel.com/TTV channel. Get an audiobook from audibletrial.com/TTV. Go to see our new website at ttvchannel.com or ttvpodcast.com. Doesn't matter which. Works either way. And go talk about this and RWBY on our very active RWBY message boards topic at board.ttvchannel/ttvpodcast.com. Naturally, this sounds like a website. No, you can do TTV channel or TTV podcast, but it's board.ttvpodcast.com and our channel. Cool. I'm Kahi,
I'm Messa.
I'm LJ.
and join us again next week for another episode of TTV Talks.
Hey, bye.
Adios.